got a chance to see EENIE MEANIE with Samara Weaving on Hulu. Let's talk about it right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I'm your host, Frank Zenko, an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer. And we're going to talk about EENIE MEANIE. So I'd heard some really bad things about this, but I'm a huge Samara Weaving fan. I think she's great. Ever since I saw her in Ready or Not, I've seen that movie at least like 5 times now, and I think she has just huge range. She has this way of just using her eyes to convey everything, and she's got the eyes that are a little bit further apart too, so you gotta she's gotta turn her head, but she has a very angular face as well, which is very interesting. She's very interesting to watch. And when I heard she was doing like a Baby Driver type movie, I said, yeah, let's take a look at it. I don't know if this was really a Baby Driver type. I guess it does have elements of Baby Driver to it. But I didn't really see it that way for the most part, because that had more of some more comedic stuff to it. And, and then had a very eclectic group of people in the job, where here the job was really just her and the boyfriend, right? So the storyline is that she is trying to live a normal life, and she has a job at a bank, and the bank got robbed while she was there. Of course, in a movie, if there's a bank, there's always a robbery. You can't have a bank without having a robbery in a movie. It just can't happen. But anyway, so she also finds out that she's pregnant. So she goes to tell the guy that she is now estranged from. His name is John. And she has people shooting at her right off the bat. As soon as she opens the door to his apartment, he's like already held at gunpoint. So she has to go save him. And he reminds me of Mice and Men. So you had a very strong guy kind of in Lenny. So she's almost like the other character. So he's like Lenny, and there's just something wrong with him, or he's just a brute. But he's a sweet brute. And you find that out later. Like a lot of his monologues and his conversations with her are kind of endearing, so you kind of understand. Like in the beginning, you have no idea why she keeps going back to him, but then she tells the backstory to Nico, and from there she has the conversation with him, and we kind of understand, what the whole deal is between the two of them. And, of course, she was also in Snake Eyes. She was in Scream. She was in The Babysitter. She's done a lot of stuff already, but I really hope she does more. We don't really get too much of her. And she has another movie out called Azrael that's also on streaming that I have on my queue, because I hadn't even heard of it until I was scrolling through it. And then you have Carl Guzman, who's playing, or Glusman, I should say. Glusman, who's playing John. That is the boyfriend. And he's done a few things, mostly television and things like that. Steve Zahn is also in it, that plays the dad. And, his story's kind of actually pretty sad. But Glusman was in The Bike Riders. He was in Civil War. I think he was the villain in Bike Riders. And he was also in Greyhound, of which today, I don't have Apple Plus. I still to this day have not seen that, and if anybody knows me, they know I love, war stuff and World War II and things like that. In fact, I'm going to go see Treason Traitor movie out from Angel Studios. I'm going to see that on Sunday. I heard that the Keanu Reeves one was not very good, but I'm going to go see that next week anyway. But anyway, it has an eclectic cast of people that you'll recognize, but not, they're not high up on like Andy Garcia is probably the most famous person in this thing. Marshawn Lynch was just in the pickup for a very tiny role, and Randall Park. Why did he take this role? I have no clue. He's in one scene in the whole movie. What? Why is he in this? I don't know. Was he just they just shot on a weekend and he was just like free and he said, "Yeah, I'll come out and play with you guys"? I'm very confused. But anyway, all of the reviews I had heard of this were like it was crap. But I gotta say that I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought that the characters were very complicated. I thought that, they had some complicated characters. And, she has to deal with her being pregnant. And does she tell him? Does she involve him? Because he's just a mess and he comes out saying, I'm going to change and, the normal things. And what happens to him, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but what happens to him, is interesting as well. And then, of course, you have Nico is almost playing like her father because her father was a drug addict. And what happens to him, later on as well, I think it had some real character growth through the film. Like, Nico doesn't change. He's just this immovable object at this point. But some of the other characters do have arcs. And I like that. And, we get to see, later on what happens to them by the end. So they just don't end it with the thing. So they got it. So basically the storyline is that Nico, that's right. John kills one of Nico's guys that is an earner, which means that, he's bringing in some money for the organization. And he calculates that he owes like $3 million. There just happens to be a heist that needs from a casino that requires a driver, and it's $3 million that they're stealing. So, of course, it's all contrived by Nico. And to get Samara Weaving's character, EENIE, her name is EDIE, it's Edie, but he calls her, and her last name's Meanie, so Nico just calls her EENIE Meanie instead of Edie Meanie. So it just kind of works out. But but anyway, before we move on, remember to give me a like, give me a subscribe if you can. If you can, ring that bell, ding, ding. That would be greatly appreciated. Share this video out there. Remember, too, that I'm a screenwriter myself, and I write novels and comic books as well. So check out my 4-novel series, Destiny Aurora. It's a sci-fi epic. So if you like Star Wars, Star Trek, Guardians of the Galaxy, it's got elements of everything in there. It was made into a board game, an RPG, a graphic novel. It's also on Audible. So if you like to check out stuff on Audible, it's really enjoyable. We have 2 male and female voice, so it's not just one person reading it. Also, my YA fantasy novel, Tales of Ravenor, the Iron Witch. So if you like things like House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, you're going to like that one as well. And then my new comic, Fairy Tales of Terror, which we did very well on Kickstarter, so it is fully funded. We will be releasing that, but I'm on late pledge right now, where we have Psycho Cinderella, we have Killer Captain Hook. They're being chased around New York City by Neverland's Tiger Lily, who's a badass. Definitely check that. It's got some great artwork and things like that as well. But you can go to fairytalesofterror.com as well. And also, I will be, if you're interested in film in any way, shape, or form, I will be doing like a master class by the 1st and the 2nd of November. If you'd like to join us, and it's very inexpensive than what it should be. And most people charge like $100 or more to $150. This is only $40 for the 2 days. So anyway, there's a link description below for the Eventbrite. All right, so let's jump back into EENIE MEANIE. So this is written and directed. This is his directorial debut. His name is Sean Simmons. He does a lot of television. He's also a showrunner, but mostly he's an executive producer, because that's the title that showrunners get. So he's an executive producer and a writer, because all showrunners are writers, which is part of the problem when you're trying to pitch something, like if you say, okay, I'm going to go sell a TV show. Well, you can't. You can't just sell a TV show. You have to have a showrunner with you that has a lot of shows underneath their belt, because they're trusting millions and millions of dollars, meaning the studios and the networks, to you. And if you have no show running experience, you have to have somebody that has that experience, that has a track record for coming in under budget or within budget and within time, because they have to be aired at a certain time as well, right? So that's the problem, is that most showrunners are writers, if not 100% of them. So I've talked with many showrunners, because I've tried to get them to help me, and it's just like, hey, I got my own stuff I'm pitching, can't help you. And that's what you're going to hear like 99.9% of the time. The action for his first time directing, because though he's probably been on set the majority of his life, actually stepping into the director's seat is very different than you just watching, right? Because now all eyes are on you. You are everything. And, so sometimes the first AD can step in. Like I was working on the L Word, and there was the directors there had very, very little experience. And the first AD did step in to direct occasionally, which is not good. When you get to that point, it's not good. But I thought that the car chase scenes I thought were pretty good, especially towards the end when you get to the climax and they're like four-wheeling, and we had some really good stunt work there for some of the cop cars. Of course, the cop cars are all going into one another, and we get the normal. I drove into a parking garage, and we get the parking garage chase. It's not really out of the box at all. But I didn't pay. If I went to the theater and saw this, I would have been okay with it. I would not have complained. And it's better than some of the other stuff I've seen in the theater lately. I'll tell you that. But I was in it for the most part. I cared about the characters. I was wondering how, because the John, the boyfriend character, I mean, he's just not likable until later on. And even then, you're like, boy, this guy's nuts. This guy's nuts. And then we have, the third party getting involved. Felt a little bit like the Italian Job at times. Because then she's driving through the casino, and which felt very like the Italian Job, where they had to get the cars to certain size to go through the hallways. If you haven't seen the Italian Job, it's definitely an amazing, amazing film. Anyway, that's it for me. So I'm going to give this a good 7. I'm going to give this a 7. I liked it. Especially for a Hulu show. And if on Disney Plus, because they can't do anything worth a shit. I saw that trailer for Wonder Man, and I was like, what the hell is this? That's the biggest piece of garbage I've ever seen in my life. They were taking a character that didn't work in Iron Man, Ben Kingsley's character as the Mandarin. They're taking that and then doing something that didn't work then to make it not work now. Oh my God. How embarrassing. Anybody who's in that show is just going to be embarrassed. I hope the paycheck was good. Anyway, I'm still a fan of Samara Weaving by the time this thing was over, and I am going to check out that other movie, the Azrael movie, to see how she did in that. But yeah, I'd like to see more of her, even if it's on a lower budget scale. I don't know what the budget was on this. It's not really published anywhere. All right, so remember to give me that like, give me that thumbs up if you can, subscribe, ring that bell, ding, ding. And also remember to check out my stuff on Amazon. Just type my name in, or there's a link in the description below. Check out Fairy Tales of Terror. We're in late pledge right now. Go to fairytalesofterror.com. Again, link in the description below. I will be retiring certain covers, so you don't want to wait on that. And if you're interested in joining me for my film class, Again, it's not very expensive. And then you go to Eventbrite, and there's also a link in the description below for that as well. All right, have a good one, guys, and I will see you next one. Have a great week.